from Instagram DMs, for our Instagram quiz, right? And I was like, oh, okay, someone asked this question and it was something that would probably benefit you guys also. Okay, so the answer is ribosomes for this, right? And why is it ribosomes? So just a show of like, I want to get a sensing. Do you understand why it's ribosomes? Yes or no? Just say Y or N in the chat. Tell me. If you are shy, you can just send direct message to me. Yes or no? Do you understand this question? Why is it ribosomes? So I can see like how many people understand it. Okay, don't need to be shy. If you send direct message, no one will see. Okay, even if you say wrong thing, who cares? No one will see, only me. Send on the Zoom chat. Don't send on like Telegram or something. Okay, so I'm gonna explain this one now. Cells in germinating pollen grains. So y'all will learn for reproduction in plants. You learn that pollen grains, when they land on the stigma, they will germinate and then they'll grow out the pollen tube, right? So if they grow the pollen tube, okay, germinating pollen grains grow pollen tube. So this pollen tube is made of stuff, right? Made of cell parts, and it requires proteins to build it. Need proteins to build a pollen tube. Okay, and then at the tip of the pollen tube, as it grows through the stigma, through the star, and through the ovary wall, right, it secretes enzymes so that it can digest a path through. Why can't I get that other color? Oh, my pen is freezing up. Hello, come back. Pen, why do this to me? Okay, wait, let me try restart this. No. Okay, sorry. Hold on for the technical difficulty. Very strange. Okay, anyway, I'll just explain verbally first, okay, until my pen comes back. So, pollen tube, right, secretes enzymes from the tip to digest the path through. And enzymes are also actually made of proteins. Okay, so you see, we need a lot of proteins for the pollen tube, right? So looking at the options, which here helps make proteins? Ribosomes make proteins, right? Think of them as factories for proteins. And then as for nuclei, right? Why would they have a lot of nuclei? I mean, they do have the male sex nucleus, right? Which will later fuse with the ovum for fertilization. But that's it. They just have that one. They don't need to have like so many nuclei. Okay, each pollen tube will carry one male sex nucleus. Okay, and then centrioles is now technically out of your syllabus for 2024. But basically, that thing helps in cell division. And as for the pollen grain, right, will it need to continue dividing? No need already. So we won't need centrioles. And then DNA, well, I mean, you have the normal amount of DNA in the sex cell, okay, which is a haploid nucleus. So don't have a lot of DNA. The most sensible answer is ribosomes. Okay, my pen is back. So I was saying, need to secrete enzymes, right? And so that is made of protein. Okay, who makes proteins is ribosomes. Okay, I'll move on to the next question, okay? Okay, so can you explain what is carbohydrate metabolism? So this word metabolism, do you know what it means? I bet it's like quite a vague term, right? So simply put, right, it means the chemical reactions in the body. Chemical reactions. Okay, then we can further break this down into two categories of chemical reactions. Those that build stuff, right? You build bigger and bigger molecules, and those that break down stuff, where we take a big molecule and we break it up. Okay, so these are the two main types of chemical reactions. Then we want to apply this to carbohydrates in the body. Okay, where do y'all learn this? Which chapter? It's nutrition in humans. Okay, so after digestion, right, then we absorb glucose and other nutrients that have been digested. Then once it's in the bloodstream, it can then be assimilated. It can go into cells and then be assimilated. Okay, that means used to make cell parts. Okay, there is Okay, question, just testing you. I'm sure you have all learned this already. Carbohydrate is glucose, right? How is it stored in our body? Stored as what? How is carbohydrate stored? So if a lot of glucose enters our cells, right? Then how is it stored? Okay, tell me in the Zoom chat. I like to see if you remember. Glucose molecules. Yay, okay, very good. I got one correct answer already. Emma says glycogen, good job. Okay, by the way, if you send me a wrong answer, I will not say your name. I will only say your name if you got right answer. So glycogen is how it's stored. So like imagine that my floor, right, in my room has tons of little Lego blocks on my floor everywhere. So it's very messy, right? I want to like compile them in a corner. So what do? Well, I can stack them up, okay, into like a huge cube, of Lego. And then it's very neat and I can put it somewhere in my room, right? Rather than all over the place. So the cells also do this when there's too much glucose, right? They can get this, build it into a bigger molecule, and then store it. So they will build it into glycogen. And I like to draw the shape like this, but you don't have to know how it looks like, okay, in your syllabus. It's just a very huge molecule made of thousands of glucose. So this is called glycogen. Yeah, so carbohydrate metabolism is the back and forth reaction here. When cells store glucose as glycogen, that is part of the carbohydrate metabolism. Then the reverse is also part of carbohydrate metabolism. Because one is the building, so this way is built, and then backward is to break down. Okay, who here has learned hormones yet? Let's show of hands. Tell me if you learn. Just say if you learn hormones yet in the chat. So if you've learned hormones, right, learn insulin and glucagon. So insulin helps with which reaction? The top one. Insulin tells the cells, right, to do this. Okay, and glucagon is like the opposite. It tells the cells to break down the glycogen. Okay, so that is carbohydrate metabolism. It's basically these two reactions here. And this is involved in blood glucose regulation. Okay, which is one of the functions of the liver. Liver functions. Okay, I give you an option now. Do you all want me to sidetrack into revising the liver functions? Up to you, up to you. Would you all like me to revise the liver functions? Okay, I got one person. I'll see. I need more votes to know whether it's worthy something that y'all need. Anyone else? You can tell me in the Zoom chat. Would y'all like me to revise the liver? Okay, okay, that's a lot of people. All right, sure. Let's do it. Where got space, huh? Okay, I think. Okay, I'll move this stuff away, then I can have space. Okay, good. So liver functions are quite angry, at the update in the syllabus because I made so many memory shortcuts. Okay, and then now I have to keep editing and changing them because of the syllabus change. So yeah, one of my last time acronyms was Big Tab, but now I change it to DH-BAG. Okay, so it's DH-BAG. And then when y'all say DH when you message people, right? DH means don't have, right? So don't have bag. Yeah. Okay, I'll tell you a funny story. When I was coming out of the train in JC, right? When I went to JC, I take the MRT. Then I come out of the MRT, right? And I always walk up the exit towards the school. So there was this one time where I was playing a phone game. I don't know what game it was. So I always hold my file, right? You know, you all have school file, the thick thick stuff, all your worksheets, you never file properly, right? Then you hold that thick school file with you. Then the bag I hold behind her. Okay, so I was hugging my file and playing my phone game. And I left the bag, right? I didn't strap it on. It was on my seat. So I stood up and I walked out of the MRT. And then I started walking to school. Then I was like, hey, why so light? That's because I left my entire bag in the train. Yeah, so it's really sad. Like all the pencil case, or like the house keys, it was lost in that bag. Yeah, so when I walked out, I realized I don't have bag. So DHBAG, right? These are the liver functions. They help you memorize. Okay, let me try and recall what they are also. D stands for detoxification. Okay, detoxification. So example, converting alcohol, breaking it down, that's part of detoxification. When you take something that is harmful to the body and destroy it, make it harmless. Okay? Then H is hormone breakdown. So all hormones will meet their end at the liver, right? The liver will like destroy everything in the end. Next is B, bile production. So the liver produces bile, but then the bile is stored in the gallbladder. Okay, so it's secreted by the gallbladder during digestion. Let's move this here. Okay, then A stands for amino acid, right? Amino acid metabolism, which is also known as deamination. So I like to do this deamination. That's how I remember. Okay, notice the spelling. So this is when we break down amino acids into urea. Okay, and then G stands for blood glucose regulation. Yeah. I'm wondering if anyone is taking notes. That would be good. That would be a good idea. Okay, DHBAG. Don't have back. Liver functions. Are you happy? Last time was 6, now it's 5. Oh, you want me to send the document? Can. Okay, I'll send this document to a Telegram chat, okay? Yeah, deal. Okay, then are you also happy that cell division is out? I mean, I guess you wouldn't know how it's like having it in, right? If you never studied it. Yeah, I think a lot of people should be happy. Because my current batch was like, huh? Cell division is taking out for next batch. Then they're like, wow, so unfair. So I think y'all have a good life. Okay, going down. Any more questions related to bio? I'll pause here for a while. Let's go. So this question on what's the difference between a cranial reflex and a spinal reflex? And the one where relay neuron transmit nerve impulses to the brain. Okay, I think this one, right, will be, okay, should I just draw it here? Okay, I should just draw it here, yes. So there are two types of reflex actions. One is cranial reflex, one is spinal reflex. So what's the difference, right, is that this one uses the spinal cord as the reflex center, meaning, right, it will pass through there before it goes to the effector. So like here's our brain, spinal cord comes out from the brain, right, goes through your spine. And then let's say your hand is here, okay? This is the receptors in your hand. And then this is the muscle in your hand. So you touch something very hot. Okay? The receptors in your hand detect it. They send the nerve impulses this way, and it goes to the spinal cord. Then it comes back to a muscle in the hand to make you pull your hand away. So this is a spinal reflex because it went through the spinal cord. Okay, spinal reflex. Then what about cranial reflex? The word cranial, right? Every time you see cranial, it refers to the head or the brain. So cranial reflex uses the brain as the reflex center. Brain. Okay. So example, blinking, or like someone throw frisbee at your face, right? Then you blink. So what kind of reflex is that? The eye is very near the brain, right? So it should just use the brain because the brain is easier, is closer than the spinal cord. So you go up to the brain, nerve impulses come back to the eyelid muscles like this. So it passes through the brain, therefore this is a cranial reflex to make you blink. Okay, so that is the difference between spinal reflex and cranial reflex. I feel like they won't test these terms specifically, right? But they will they will definitely need you to know whether a certain reflex action scenario passes through the spinal cord or the brain. Okay, like they'll ask you things like describe the nervous pathway, a pathway of nerve impulses for knee-jerk reflex. So they expect you to know that the knee-jerk reflex is the leg, right? So it involves the spinal cord. So it's a spinal reflex. Now, you don't have to have that term spinal reflex in your answer. But in the explanation, you will need to talk about how it goes through the spinal cord and comes back, right? So if you write, oh, it goes to the brain, then there'll be a mistake. Okay. So these terms, cranial reflex and spinal reflex, are not so important to know the terms itself. But the understanding of which one is the reflex center for that question, confirm they'll test you. You need to know that. Okay, next question. So we done this. Go through selective reabsorption and ultrafiltration. This is quite intense, okay? I will only very briefly explain it, all right? Because for time constraints. So ultrafiltration in a nutshell is like, you see, this is the, okay, firstly, we need to understand the overall point of the kidney. So in a fish tank, right, a fish tank has water and the water over time gets dirty. So we put a filter, then the dirty stuff will get removed, right, from the using the filter, and the clean water goes back to the rest of the tank. Okay, so the kidneys in our body are like the fish tank filters. Their job is they clean the dirty blood and they remove all the trash, like the urea, okay, which will go into our urine and other waste substances. And the clean stuff goes back into the rest of the body again. Okay, that's the point of the kidneys. So how the kidneys achieve this is by these two steps. Step one, ultrafiltration. Step two, selective reabsorption. Okay, so blood has, okay, let me use red color. Okay, dirty blood. So this has good stuff inside and also dirty stuff, okay? It goes to our kidneys, to our nephrons. It is then, what will happen is the dirty stuff will be removed. Okay, and this is what forms urine. Then the good stuff returns back to the rest of the body. Okay, this is the clean blood. That is the overall point of every nephron. Every nephron does this job. It cleans the blood that comes through it. Okay, it takes away the dirty stuff, put as urine. So how does it achieve this? 2 steps, right? It takes 2 steps. So step 1 is ultrafiltration, where it will just force out basically everything. Almost all the dissolved substances and the blood plasma. Okay, substances are dissolved in the blood plasma, will be forced out. Okay, so you take all this dirty and clean stuff and you just force it out into the nephrons. Okay, but then if we force out everything, right, everything just becomes urine. Then we'll die, right? We're like leaving all our blood into our urine, which makes no sense. So instead, we need to take back the good stuff. We cannot just let all the good stuff stay in the urine. Okay, so the second step, selective reabsorption, is about taking back the good stuff. So we will reabsorb back things like glucose, water, amino acids, mineral salts. Okay, we will reabsorb all this stuff back. Not, okay, this one, for mineral salts, not all. Water also not all. Because if not, how are you going to have water in your urine? How are you going to pee it out? You need some water in it, right? So they won't reabsorb all water and all mineral salts. So these are the things that will get pulled back from the nephrons back into the bloodstream. Okay, because they're the clean stuff, they're the good stuff. So yeah, that's a summary of ultrafiltration and selective reabsorption. So that's the whole point of the nephron, with all the tubes, right? The front part, okay, does the ultrafiltration, push out all the stuff, including the good and the bad. The rest of the nephron's job is the second step. It just selects back and pulls back all the useful things, okay, back into our blood. So did that answer the question for this person? I hope that gave you a good overview of how these things work. Okay, next time if I have more time, and y'all have to submit earlier so that I can prepare a image, a diagram, where I can explain each of the different parts of the nephron. Okay. Next one, how does gas exchange occur in the alveoli? How do I remember it? Okay, I've never actually thought of a memory shortcut for this. But here's how it works. So this is an alveolus, singular. This is a blood capillary passing by, and there are red blood cells inside. So let's say they move to the right, from left to right. So on the left, right, okay, y'all don't need to tell me, I'll just answer in your own head. Do you feel like it's high or low CO2 on the left? Do you feel like it's high or low CO2? Okay, so I hope you said the answer in your head was high CO2. Okay, high CO2 here. And so how gas exchange will happen is that because it's higher concentration in the blood and lower in the air that we just breathe in, it will want to diffuse out. So CO2 diffuses out into the alveolar air space. Okay, then when we breathe out, we'll remove the CO2. So that is already one gas. Okay, what's the other gas? Oxygen, right? So over here is low oxygen because it came from the rest of the body to the lungs. And inside the alveolar air space has high oxygen because we just breathe in that new air, right? So diffusion from high to low concentration. So it will go into the blood. But this one got extra step when you explain in your answers. Because there is this thin film of moisture that lines the inside, thin film of moisture. So the oxygen gas will first dissolve inside. Okay, so O2 gas is gaseous state, right? Will dissolve and become aqueous state. Okay, this is chemistry, right? Because if it's not aqueous state, then it will all clump together into one big bubble. And you won't want to have bubbles of oxygen going throughout your body, right? That's like quite dangerous. So we want them dissolved. So that's why it dissolves in the water first. Okay, then the second step is the oxygen which has already dissolved will diffuse, okay, from the airspace to the bloodstream into the blood plasma. So step one and then step two is like that. So this is when you talk about oxygen entering, they want to see these two steps that you talk about. So yeah, I don't have a memory shortcut for this because I felt like it's not that many steps, only two lah. Okay. I hope I answered this person also. Okay, next one. What are the membrane-bound organelles and protoplasm? Okay, so this word, right, protoplasm, I have been advised by a MOE bio teacher that it's not a good word and we should avoid it. So in my notes, right, I've been changing all the protoplasm, removing it. It basically means cell parts, right? Cell parts. So when I say that, after we digest our food, right, it is used to build new protoplasm. That means that the food that we got will be used to build new cell parts. Okay. Okay, next one. What are membrane-bound organelles? So this just means that the organelle, okay, what are organelles? The word organelles means tiny organs. Okay, that's why the nails, tiny organs in a cell. So they are the cell parts like mitochondria, Golgi, so on. So example, mitochondria, right? Do you think is considered? You can just say yes or no in the chat. Y or N. Is this membrane bound? Yes or no? Is it a membrane bound? Just guess, just guess. Don't be afraid that is wrong. Okay. Yes, the answer is yes, right? Mitochondria, I mean, you can see, right, there's a lining around it. Yeah. So this is a membrane-bound organelle because it has a membrane that is outlining it. What about nucleus? Yes, right? Nucleus has DNA inside. Yeah, that has a nuclear membrane, nuclear envelope. Yes. Then chloroplast. Chloroplast is much bigger than mitochondria. Found in plant cells, right? Yes, chloroplast. Yes. Chloroplast. So Golgi also is made of membrane. Rough ER, smooth ER also made of membrane. So all these are yes. Okay. Then I think the person who asked this question saw our notes on infectious diseases where it talks about bacteria. So for bacteria, right? Oh, let me see if I got what space. Let me draw a bacteria down here. Okay, here's a bacteria. Inside, it has DNA, but the DNA is just floating around. It doesn't have a proper container, no membrane. Okay, so it's not considered membrane-bound organelle. It has ribosomes. Okay, but again, ribosomes are just floating around. They're little things which don't have membranes around them, so it's not considered. Do they have mitochondria? No. Do they have any other like Golgi apparatus, ER? No, they don't have. So they don't have membrane-bound organelles. Does this make sense now? All their stuff inside doesn't have a nice packaging outlining it. Okay, so that's bacteria, no membrane-bound organelles. I think that's why the person asked this. Okay, what are single and double membrane? No need to know, not in syllabus. Okay, not important, not important. But if you must know, the nucleus, right, actually has two membranes surrounding it. So it's one, two. And then actually mitochondria also got two. Chloroplast also got two. Yeah. So this is like out of syllabus, right? You don't need to know that there are two of them. Just need to know there is one. Can already. Okay. Any clarifications? Did anything was not clear? You wanna clarify? Just pause thinking. Anyway, let me show you something. So y'all should be in our Telegram channel if you're attending this already. And that means that you have the link to the bonus pages. So let me show you. So here's our notes. Okay, all this is free, by the way. And bonus pages will be here. Okay, see 1 to 7. Got mind maps, practical tips, answering tips. All the memory shortcuts I compile here. Misconceptions, which most people will have. I bet every student will have at least one misconception that they will find here that they would otherwise get wrong in their exams. So very helpful page. Exam smart hacks. Okay, so yeah, I think y'all will like these. If you haven't accessed it yet, go download. Okay, next questions are study advice related. Oh, wait, not yet. Still got this. Okay, let's look at this question. So good tries. How I would, okay, let me clear the attempts. Clear drawings. All right. So what is the diameter difference between these three? So capillaries are made of one cell thick, okay? They're only made of one layer of cells, so they must be very thinner. And they are the tiniest, so they should be quite low down here maybe. Okay, then which one is bigger diameter? Arteries or veins? It's actually veins is bigger. Okay, then arteries is less. Yeah, so how do we connect this into a line graph? I would draw this up like that. Okay, so that's how to answer this question. Because you must see how they did it also. They also put one smooth line. So that's what we'll do. Okay, then this is done. Use the line and your bio knowledge. Explain why the mean blood pressure is higher in an artery than a vein. Okay, so we need to talk about the diameter of blood vessel in our answer because they ask using the line. Okay, and then we need to also use our own content that you studied. So you cannot smoke this, right? You won't get the marks. To explain why blood pressure is higher in arteries. Okay, and it's 3 marks, so we need 3 points. So I feel like we can get 1 mark from here and 2 marks from here. Yes, okay, we can. Okay, I've thought of the points already. Okay, so let's use the line first. Okay, the line that we drew. If I use black, can you all see? Can, okay, good. So let's use the line first. So on the line in figure 4.2, we can see that the diameter of vein is the largest. Okay, and how does that, make the blood pressure lower than the artery? Okay, it's because when the diameter is wider, less resistance to the blood, and therefore it is pressing on the blood less, so less blood pressure. Okay, so this is from my content knowledge, this one, that the bigger lumen or diameter decreases resistance. Okay, so this is diameter of blood vessel, not the thickness of wall. So like, let's say this is the blood vessel here, an artery, right? They are measuring this is the diameter, D. Okay, they're not measuring the thickness of the wall. Okay, so that's the mistake some people might make. Yeah, so the diameter or the lumen, okay, see, lumen of blood vessel is larger, less resistance, therefore it presses on the blood less, and therefore less blood pressure. Okay, so this is from the graph. My argument up from the graph. Okay, now I'm going to give my arguments from my content knowledge. So first reason why blood pressure is higher in arteries. Arteries are closer to the left ventricle, LV, left ventricle of heart. So since the left ventricle is the one that generates the pressure, right? Okay, which generates the high blood pressure. So therefore, the further you go, right, veins are further. So there will be loss of energy along the way, E for energy. Therefore, lower blood pressure in the veins. Okay, so the source of all this high blood pressure is the left ventricle. Arteries are directly connected. Veins are much further. So they are going to have less blood pressure. And my third point that I'll put is the nature of the walls. So artery walls, right? Their walls they have thick, elastic, and muscular walls. Okay, I should use the word thicker because I'm comparing, right? Comparing to the veins. So how does this make the blood pressure higher? Because it maintains the high blood pressure. Every time the heart contracts, right? The left ventricle squeezes, right? Then it'll send a surge of blood forward. And then that would push against the walls and it'll stretch, right? But it'll come back. So these are elastic and muscular. They can stretch and recoil, meaning that, when the blood comes in, it'll stretch, right? But then it can come back. So when it recoils, it pushes down back on the blood. Do you see that? It's squeezing the blood when it comes back. So that will maintain the high blood pressure. Okay. So how to answer these kind of questions, right, is see what the question wants. And in this case, it wants 2 parts, right? It wanted you to use data from there and make an argument, and then use your own content knowledge, which is not from the graph, and make 2 more marks of arguments. So I see what they want, and then I see the mark allocation to know how much must I write. Yeah, so this is the answer I will give. Okay, I gotta go to the next one. We're running out of time. Okay, what's part D? Part D is referring to the valve, okay, here. So there's a semilunar valve. Don't just say valve, because The more specific you are in bio, the better you'll score. Semilunar valve. Okay, and then how does it enable blood to return to the heart? So I bet that all of you know this, right? That valves prevent the backflow of blood. So let's write that. Prevents backflow, okay, of blood. But what's the purpose? Like, or rather, how does it help with the returning to the heart? You need to answer the question, right? So by preventing backflow, it ensures blood only moves in the right direction, which is to go up to the heart. Yeah, so 1 mark for saying this correctly, and then this one 1 mark. So that's why I'm not explaining so much, because I know that it's only worth 1 mark. Okay, I could say things like, oh, this is in the leg, and gravity is pulling it down, and then there's also low blood pressure in the veins, which increase the chance of backflow, and so we need the valves to make sure that it only will go in the right direction. But then that's like a 2 mark answer compared to this is only asking for 1 mark, right? That's why I'm not explaining so much. Okay, I hope. Oh, there's still one more. So the parts in E, okay, E are the muscles, right? So this is a good example of a question. Whenever the question is vague, so here the question is being vague, right? They're not telling you what is E, but I highly recommend always replace their vagueness with being specific. So it's like, okay, in your face question, you want to be vague, right? I'll say what E is. So I'll say E is, okay, I'll use a yellow. Yeah, yellow can see. E is skeletal muscles. Okay, skeletal muscles just mean the muscles attached to our skeleton. Like you see my hands, all these are skeletal muscles because they move my skeleton bones. So skeletal muscles around the vein. Okay, and how it works here, right, is that whenever they contract, they squeeze, then they will kind of bulge, right? I mean, if you flex your arm, you flex your bicep, it will bulge, right? So when these squeeze, then what happens is they will bulge and it will push the blood here, it will force it upwards. Okay, that's how this is working. So this is not just in our legs, by the way, although they love to use the leg diagram, but it happens throughout your whole body. So like now, right, there are some veins in my arm that when I do this, it's helping the blood go back, okay, towards my heart. So it happens throughout your whole body, wherever there's muscles. So skeletal muscles and vein, around the vein. And then now how does it work, right? Okay, so for the interest of time, I'm going to show you the answer in our notes. Okay, so our notes, let's go to transport humans. These are the commonly asked questions. So I think I have one. Where is it? Oh, look, it's here. Blood flow in veins, right? How does blood return to the heart from veins? Contraction of skeletal muscles exerts pressure on veins, forcing the blood to move along. And then, let's see, the other one we already kind of did say in the above question. Suggest how the parts of the body. Prevent backflow. How the parts of the body. Let me think. Because I don't think it's good to write this again, since it was in the earlier part of the question. They wouldn't want you to overlap. It makes no sense. So what would the 2 marks be? Help blood return to the heart. How the parts. Okay. Since they just talked about E, right? Let me share the screen again. Share to here. So since they are just talking about E, which are pointing to the muscles, then do not use the full CAQ that I showed you just now. Okay, just use the first sentence, which is about, exerts pressure on the veins, forces the blood to move. Why is it 2 marks though? How do we get the 2 marks? Here's what I think. I think that 1 mark comes from you telling them what this is. So this will give 1 mark already. And then the other mark is what is in our CAQs. Okay, so I'll just write it here in case you're copying. Exert contract, and when they contract, exerts pressure on the veins, and this forces blood to move along back to the heart. Yeah, okay, that will be 2 marks already. So 1 mark for identifying and another mark for like the explanation.